Hello, everybody. Welcome to our midweek or Sunday night, depending where you are, AMA. We're here to go over some of the questions regarding ASTO, regarding the Discovery Auction, everything of those likes to really sort of give some information, everything we can. So joining us today is David, as well as John and degentradergirl, aka Aaron. How is everybody this fine Monday/Sunday for some of us?
Pretty good, actually. Thank you, Dan.
Pretty good, yeah. Thank you.
And you're on mute, John.
Yeah, no, doing great. We're working hard on some of the next things coming down the line, so it's busy as always.
Perfect. So as always, everybody, pop your hands up if you do have any questions related to ASTO, related to the Discovery Auction and how all those things work. As per normal, when you're invited up on stage, please mute, and I will intro you and let you know when it is your turn to speak. But do we have anything to go over before we start taking questions, Tim?
Yeah, so just wanted to congratulate the community on an awesome ASTO launch so far. We got a contribution of over 26 million ASTO into the liquidity pool, which is amazing. Really good effort. I think we're looking at around about 4.5 million USDC at this point, which is really good. And it's going to be interesting to see it play out over the next sort of 24, 48 hours. But yeah, just a big thank you to everybody who's been involved so far. It's been awesome jumping on the Discord and in the community AMAs and talking to you all as we go through the process. I also wanted to point out that we have to make sure that we don't stray into the territory of financial advice in any of the subjects that we're talking about today. So if we say that we probably shouldn't comment on specific things that you ask us, please understand that it's for the protection of everybody involved. It's a interesting area to navigate when you're trying to give as much information as possible, but not tell people what to do. The other point of business, I just wondered. I think this is your first time up here representing Altered State Machine, degentradergirl. I wondered if you want to give a little intro yourself.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm degentradergirl. If you have consumed any altered education content since early October, I have created or collaborated closely on that. You may recognize my voice a bit from some of that. So I am an adult education expert and specialize in the adult learning theory, the way to construct educational materials to convey information to adults in a way that is concise and impactful. And I have absolutely had the pleasure of working with ASM. It's been one of the most fun projects I've ever worked on, and been blessed to work with them more and more recently. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, and it's a pleasure having you on the team. And thank you for all the amazing work you've done working on the educational content. It's actually the best in the space, and I don't have any problem saying that. It's second to none, the work you put in. So thank you very much.
That's incredibly kind. Thank you for creating ASM. It's pretty easy to make awesome content when we have such a cool project to work with.
Thank you. All right, shall we get some questions up?
Let's get it started for sure. Cool. BTC Hornet, you are the first one on stage. Welcome.
Hey, good evening, guys, and congratulations so far on the fantastic showing on the auction. I'm pleased to be participating, and I had a question about, now that the ASTO is known. The quantity deposited is known. Are you able to talk any more about the reverse claim for characters? And specifically, I wanted to ask, where is the ASTO? What is the source of ASTO for the character reverse claim? You know, there's a vesting schedule and a lot of different sources of ASTO coming on the market, but where is the ASTO coming from for the 2% reverse claim? Thank you.
All good. So the 2% reverse claim is coming out of the staking and rewards pool, which is a pool that goes into the DAO. The reverse claim, we're kind of calculating the curves and the distribution on that now, and some of the mechanics. We've got some quite interesting ways that we're going to do it that are very math heavy, but once you do the math, then it's easy. But they might be quite interesting approaches to the reverse claim mechanic.
And when would you announce? When do you anticipate announcing those details?
Like always, as soon as possible. I wouldn't be surprised if it's out before the end of the LBA lockup period.
Okay. And then lastly for me, can you talk about the LP tokens? You're working on a metric to allow for yield for the use of the LP token in genome mining. Do you have any more color on that detail about the rate? I mean, just any more detail than what you've provided. Are you going to be incentivizing LP tokens far off into the future, or is this a one-time mechanic for temporary use? And just any other detail you can provide. Thank you.
Kind of yes to both of those questions. So this specific one is a one-time mechanic for LBA participants, and we are working on future rewards for LP participants. So kind of yes to both of those questions.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you for your questions, BTC Hornet. We have Max Poker coming up next, our lovely Twitter space extraordinaire. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. And I guess before I ask my question, I will advertise just a little bit that we'll be running Twitter Spaces in the hour leading up to the end of day 5. So that will be at 2 p.m. Pacific tomorrow.
Awesome. I'll see if I might jump. I love jumping on your Twitter Spaces. It's good to have you on one of mine for a change. Well, not Twitter Spaces, my AMAs for a change.
Of course. And also the next one will be at the conclusion of the LBA as soon as it concludes. Now, here are my questions about day 6 and day 7 that I asked John and he answered, but I want to make sure that everyone understands that's listening. So the first question is, are you allowed to withdraw USDC on both day 6 and day 7? Or are you only allowed to withdraw once in that 2-day period?
You there, John?
Have we lost our lovely John?
In the absence of John, I'm going to. Should I answer it? Because he answered me already in text.
Okay.
So,
all right. Cool.
I could probably take a stab at summarizing it fairly succinctly. So the withdrawal rules for USDC are that there can be a total of 1 withdrawal on day 6 and 1 withdrawal on day 7. To put that in concrete terms, let's say that I deposited 100 USDC before the close of day 5. On day 6, I could make 1 withdrawal up to 50% of my deposited USDC. So 100 USDC, I could withdraw up to 50 USDC on day 6. On day 7, again, 1 withdrawal for the entire day. But on day 7, the withdrawal limit starts to linearly decline as the day goes on an hour-by-hour basis. So whatever that would be, I think it's 8.3% or something per hour. So at the very start of the day, you could withdraw up to 50% of your wallet balance, which would at that point be 50 USDC, or I'm sorry, of your deposited balance, which at that point would be 50 USDC, but it will linearly decline as we get closer and closer and closer to the conclusion of the auction.
Cool. Thank you.
Wait, so just to clarify, the day 7, you're taking 50% of the deposited USDC as opposed to 50% of the USDC at the time when day 7 starts. So for example, you could take out 100% of the USDC you put in by the end of day 5?
No,
or 75%.
So if you could get down to 25 in that scenario. So if you started day 6 with 100, you could pull out 50 USDC that day, up to 50. Then the next day you have 50 USDC, and you can withdraw 50% to 0, linearly declining. So then you could withdraw 25 if you did it right at the bang start. And then as the day went on, it would be less and less and less. So the max, you are correct, that the max that you could withdraw would be 75%. Or 75 in that scenario.
All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you guys 1 hour before the end of the USDC depositing period on Twitter.
Thanks, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It looks like John's having a few technical difficulties with his microphone. But it doesn't look like we have many questions today. I think everybody's got their heads wrapped around our Discovery Auction pretty well and our ASTO mechanics. If you do have any questions relating to anything in regards to ASM that could be pointed towards David, John, or degentradergirl, you're more than welcome now to come up onto the stage if you do have more generalized questions. John, let's test your mic though for a second. Let's see if you're going. Nope, you're not, unfortunately.
I can hear him fine.
You can hear him?
Yeah.
Can everybody else hear him?
I can't hear him. Maybe leave and come back.
You can hear him, David?
No, I can't. No.
I can't either. I can't hear him.
That is very, very strange that audience can.
No, I could hear him clearly both times. Yeah, I could hear him. Poor guy. I mean, he sounds great. I wish you all could hear him.
Wow, that's very, very strange. That you can and we can't. But let's bring someone else up on stage. We'll do some troubleshooting outside. And let's invite one of our regulars up stage. Chasing Tails, welcome to the stage.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Hi, Chasing Tails.
I just had a question about the LP tokens that staking after the 3-month period with the accelerator for Gen 2 Brains. And I was just wondering if, which you might not have worked out exactly yet, is there a difference between staking an LP token, which is a mixture of USDC and ASTO, because compared to just purely staking ASTO with your ASTO that's outside of the LP token, like, would you need? So we sort of have that that measure that we've been loosely using of the 7,100 to farm 3 Gen 2 Brains prior to game launch. Do we know what the rate of LP token would be to get to that same point, or you can't really say yet until we know what the mix is?
So it will be based on the ASTO that's in the LP token, just to make apples for apples comparison. But there will be a boost on top of it, so a percentage multiplier.
Okay,
which a number of factors need to go into making that calculation, including the date that genome mining is going to be released, which isn't concrete yet.
Cool.
We have a solid sort of. I think we know the week that it's going to be in, but we haven't finalised the exact date yet.
Cool. So if you've put in, say you had one brain and you put in your 7,152 into the auction, even though you can get an accelerator, you still won't be going as fast, excuse me, as fast as someone who stakes it from the outside, because it'll be diluted with USDC.
No, because even if you staked it from it'll be based on how much ASTO that you've got. So let me run the math in my head on that one. But maybe I'll have to get back to you on that one, Chasing Tails.
No, that's cool.
Yep.
Thanks.
Cool.
Maybe let me try and answer that. How's my audio now?
Yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry, Chasing Tails. I think I got your question, but I was coming in and out, so may not have heard all of it. But the question is kind of LP tokens. How exactly does that translate to ASTO? And are you really getting a multiple on that? And the answer is, so, if you take your 7,000 ASTO, you put it into the discovery auction, and now let's just assume that the price stays the same. So we're taking away all that impermanent loss question, and you're left with LP tokens in 3 months. The answer is that those LP tokens absolutely will represent that same amount of ASTO. So you're not getting half of the value or anything like that. It will correspond to exactly the same amount of ASTO plus the multiple that we're putting on top of that for the LP tokens.
Okay, that's confused me more, but that's cool.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, let me have a crack at it. So
just because I thought when you put the ASTO into the LP, you're essentially selling half your ASTO, aren't you?
You're selling a percentage of your ASTO. The ratio would depend on the market price of
at the
ASTO
end of the 3 months.
at the time. Actually, not even at the end of the 3 months, but at the time that you unlock it. So if you wanted to immediately put it into genome mining, and it wouldn't be unlocked. It sort of has it has a value, but it's not realized until it's unlocked.
Yeah, so basically all I was sort of asking is like, so when you, at the point, the value of the ASTO within the LP token, when you're staking it for Gen 2, if you keep it in for that new mechanic that you guys have added, it's based on the value of the ASTO at that time. Or like the amount of ASTO mix within your LP at that time.
That's right, but then there's also that USD component, and we're essentially translating that USD component to ASTO as well.
Oh, okay, cool. That's the bit that I wasn't clear about. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like all counted as ASTO.
Oh, perfect. That makes more sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is why. So the math on this stuff is a little bit in flux at the moment until the end of the LBA. So it's hard to get exact figures out around the boost multiplier, because we have a couple of shifting things: the result of the LBA and the release of genome mining. But once those two things are concrete, then we can get more information about the LBA multiplier.
Perfect. And one of the other things I know that you've mentioned in another chat, might have just been at one of the informal chats that we had in here, that you might want to say again, was that I believe that accelerator or multiplier will be diminishing.
Yes, yeah. So it will diminish to a point where the LBA participants have sort of caught up. Depending on how that ends up being.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, you're not disadvantaging the people who are staking purely with ASTO on the outside. Yeah, that's cool. Just wanted to say that out loud.
Sweet.
Also-
but then any further LP rewards going forward, that's a separate thing that we're also working through as well, because we want to incentivize liquidity providers adequately enough.
Awesome. All right, Chasing Tails, thank you for your questions. Did you have any other questions? I saw you just quickly unmute.
No, that's it. I was just going to say you can kick me off stage.
All right, thanks very much for the hard math questions. I think I could hear David's brain ticking away in the background trying to figure that one out real quick. Vulture, welcome to the stage.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me up here. I really have enjoyed kind of the rollout of ASTO so far. I'm staking on both sides right now, so I'm really interested to kind of get the rewards and see how much of the ASTO I keep. But the addition to the LP mining is really cool to do Gen 2 brains, and I was very happy to see that. It definitely motivated me to add more. So that's cool. I guess my question is, again, I'm starting to kind of think about how we play out over a long period of time with ASTO and the token, and it looks awesome how many different kind of projects are going to be using the brain in some format. So I'm just kind of wondering, once we get AFA running, or seekers start using brains, or the fluffs use games, or whatever it might be. I'm just wondering, is there any currently, and I don't think I can find it on the white paper, or maybe it's not planned yet. But I'm just wondering, I'm thinking about burn mechanics, I guess, with the merge upcoming with Ethereum as well. And I'm just wondering, is there any planned burning mechanics with the ASTO token in regards to gyms, or how they interact with different projects, just as an idea of like whether kind of the total supply of ASTO is going to be kind of this fixed amount, or whether it will be kind of like declining, or like if people are going to spend ASTO to join, AFA tournaments, let's say, do we burn that amount, or just any plans on that, or whether it's going to be a completely like DAO oriented kind of decision.
So you dropped out a bit, but I think I got the gist of that one. So the ASTO won't be burnt. It will when spent on things within the protocol, like training and play to earn and that sort of stuff. It'll go to the ASM DAO to back into the treasury of the DAO to be controlled by the community. Was that kind of what you were asking?
Yeah, that makes sense. So the DAO could technically vote to say like a percentage of all the ASTO that joins or that gets put back into the treasury could be burned. We keep it in there and we don't spend it, and technically it's like staked or locked, and that could also affect the circulating supply and that kind of thing.
Correct, and so a portion, so a portion of it goes to the DAO. And also a portion of it goes to the people who are running things like the gyms and providing intelligence mining power to the network, and for play to earn, also the people running the games as well. Obviously, get their cut in the process to keep the game running and that sort of stuff. And the DAO has the right to make decisions around burning tokens and not burning tokens.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Thanks for the answers.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Vulture. Burning Whale, welcome to the stage.
Hi, guys. Thank you for all. I have 2 questions. In the future, how I can mine the Gen 2 brain?
So you can mine that with either ASTO tokens or with LP tokens as a result of participating in the LBA. And that mining event is not too far away from beginning.
Okay, so I must own a Genesis brain or only ASTO token?
Only ASTO or LP tokens.
Okay. So what is the future value to own Genesis brain?
So the future value is participation in all the use cases, with the first use case being the A for soccer game, followed by the Muhammad Ali project, and a whole bunch of other use cases on the roadmap, including art and music use cases. The brains will be the artificial intelligent assets that will be useful in those. The Genesis brains, specifically over the Gen 2 brains, can participate in things like hereditary AI, which gives them the ability to create derivatives of two Genesis brains that share the memories of the parent brain, or one or two. We haven't landed on that exact mechanic yet, but they share the memories of the parent brain or brains, and pass down the already trained skills that they've learnt by playing games and making music and talking to people, and all those use cases that are being built for the ASM protocol.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Awesome. Thanks for your question, Burning Whale. Adjum, welcome to the stage.
Thank you for bringing me up. I had two questions. The first question was, when using LP tokens to mine, is there a distinction on whether those LP tokens were acquired by contributing USDC versus ASTO, or are they both treated the same way?
They're both treated the same way. So whether it was just ASTO or just USDC. Super.
And then the second question I had was regarding the acquisition of Gen 2 brains via mining.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't clear to me whether this was a kind of like deterministic acquisition, where if you stake a certain amount of ASTO and you wait a certain amount of time, you're then guaranteed a brain, or if it's more of a probabilistic process. And if it's probabilistic, how confident can we be that we'll have sufficient brains by the time gaming begins?
So you can be reasonably confident we're designing it so that the Genesis asset holders will be able to play the game by the time it's out. The way that it works has to be has to make it so that you need to have enough ASTO in there to mine a whole brain, because we can't fractionalize brains. But then staking time is something that's fractionalized, so we've got to marry those two pieces of math up. And the design on it is the more time you stake your ASTO, the more I guess ASTO time you have to put towards claiming a brain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so maybe just replaying that back, is it the case that after you cross some threshold of ASTO cross time, you have then earned a brain?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Right. And maybe just to add some color on that, the probabilistic aspect, that's absolutely something we've considered. The good thing about the deterministic design is it's very predictable, very understandable. You know exactly how long you need to be mining in order to get a brain. But there is a value on the probabilistic side, in that it would potentially enable people who had very small amounts of ASTO to still have some chance of mining brains on a regular time period. So there are definitely pros and cons either way, but I think at this point we are kind of leaning more in that deterministic direction.
And will a table of the threshold values be published prior to staking beginning?
You'll be able to see. So we'll make sure the dashboard is pretty clear, like it is for the LBA, on what all the math is in the background, and what you can expect. Those rates will depend on participation, so it's hard to say up front exactly what it's going to be. We can model it out and get a kind of a guess for what it looks like. But if only Chasing Tails participates in brain mining, it's going to be a very different calculation from if everybody participated in brain mining. But we'll expose those numbers on the dashboard so people can figure it out as we go along and get the most up-to-date information.
Makes sense, and I promise I'll be there too. Thank you very much.
That's at least 2. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm really glad we've got at least 2 people mining Gen 2 brains. So I'm confident now. That's all that's all we needed, right? With 2. Beerus. We got 3 now. Beerus, welcome to the stage.
Hey, thank you. You guys hear me all right?
Yes.
We can.
Yeah. Hey, so just I think I got maybe some slight answers to the question I was going to ask just with the last 2 questions that came up, but just around genome mining and sort of brain training and things like that. I mean, my initial understanding was that you could only mine Gen 2 brains by having a Genesis brain, but it sounds like if you that's not necessarily true. Is that right?
So you don't need to stake your brain to mine for Gen 2 brains. We considered this mechanic, but it meant that you would have to send your brain to a staking contract, and that brain would be locked up during that period, which would mean that we couldn't release any utility for the brains while mining events were happening, which is kind of defeats the point of it focuses the brains on more of a mining thing than what they're actually there to do, which is be functional AI within use cases. So we did it. That's why we've done it in the way we have, with the brains get the ASTO, and the majority supply of the ASTO in the market at the time, so that Genesis brains can be the holders, can be the ones that participate in the genome mining. So it's kind of by proxy. Yes, you need a Genesis brain, probably, but it means that we don't have to lock up those brains.
Okay, no, that makes sense. And then when it comes to sort of the training of them, my initial understanding, or and what I've picked up is that, as we said, some of those attributes will be passed down potentially, but so the Gen 2 brains will all be fully trainable and things like that. Like if those traits are being passed down, they're not necessarily locked for like one particular use or particular game or things like that when it comes to the Gen 2, or can they be retrained and repurposed for whatever application?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of questions in there. So first of all brains are interoperable between use cases. So if you can train your brain to play soccer and race cars and chat to people and create art, all in the same brain. And then the other question was around the breeding, but it's only Genesis brains that can do that breeding, that hereditary AI, and that's to give Genesis brain holders, the early supporters of the protocol, the access to create the premium assets for use cases. So that means when a new use case comes in, like AFA, Genesis brain holders will get access to intelligence mining before the game is released, and enabling them to train their brains in that use case, and then create derivatives of those brains that are already pre-trained to give to the market at a premium for people to access those use cases. If you can't afford one of these pre-trained Gen 2 brains, you can come at a lower price point with the Genesis, the genome mined brains, and train your brain up yourself from scratch.
Okay, no, that sounds good. And I guess just the final question there to kind of wrap it up would be basically that it sounds like the Genesis brains aren't going to have like an advantage or anything like that in the gameplay or in any application over Gen 2 brains or anything else. Is that right?
Correct. It's a level playing field. The advantages are an additional utility outside of gameplay. So we don't create a pay to win sort of scenario where it's impossible to participate unless you have a few $100,000.
Yeah. No, awesome. That's great. Thanks for answering that and for having me up on stage.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Cheers, guys.
Awesome. We've got a couple of text questions I can go through as well. There was one that was asked because they weren't able to jump on, but they said someone bring up making the ASTO coin into its own NFT / physical collectible. So a physical coin as well that represents our lovely design of the coin.
Yeah. So yeah, that could be done. A physical coin. I'll get Jesse K to look at that. The other thing, I think there was a suggestion the other day that LBA participants could get a coin NFT for being LBA participants, and we're looking into that as well.
All right. Well, I hope that answers the question. I think holding on to the NFT of the coin would be great. I mean, looking at the design, it's beautiful. Everybody loves that coin.
Yeah, I made a whole bunch for some companies, some of the Centrality Ventures many years ago. All 3D printed with NFT chips in them that contain those actual wallet with those actual coins, which was a pretty cool experiment.
That is very cool indeed. Max, welcome back.
Hi. Someone asked the question in the chat a while back, so I wanted to pose it to you. Every week there will be an unlock of some of the coins, the ASTO coins that you get as rewards. Will users have the option to wait to take them out so they only have to pay gas whenever they choose to in bulk?
Yes. Quick answer to that one. You can choose when you do the claim.
That was easy. Thanks.
That's all good. Thanks.
Sometimes the questions are easy to answer. I think on top of that too, maybe a slight follow-up. Is there a time limit to claim those, or can you just leave them alone? I think we've seen that a few times as well.
This is a blockchain. As long as Ethereum's around, you can interact with that contract.
Beautiful. All right. We do have a couple more people with their hands up. If you do have any more questions, please feel free to pop your hand up and jump in. BTC Hornet, welcome back.
Hey, thank you. Just I had a question that's I've been trying to figure out, David. When you sign your next million brain contract for the next major use case, are all those brains coming? Are all those those million new brains for that new use case? They need whoever you sign that contract with. They need them right away. They want to start their game in 2 months. Are those brains coming from, like, how do I as an asset, as a Genesis brain holder and an ASTO owner, are the source of those brains entirely from genome mining from ASTO and Genesis breeding? And then how do you allocate how many we get to supply for that demand?
Yeah, so it'll have to be on a case-by-case basis because the scenario you proposed, 1 million brains in 2 months is going to be very different from working on an integration of a project over 1 or 2 years, and how those brains get distributed will probably need to be carefully thought through in each of those scenarios. The idea is that it's ASTO and Genesis asset holders who provide those assets to the market. How quickly and how big that demand is depends on the use case, and it's something that's why the DAO is there to make those decisions when those scenarios pop up.
Okay,
So
I think that
Yeah, if we had, so let's say Muhammad Ali project, we're going to need, 20 million brains for 20 million players. Then we've got to sit down and work out how long the genome mining event needs to be for those leading up to it, what those curves are going to need to look like to make sure that there's enough supply to the market for people to participate, and they come in at the right price for people to participate as well.
Yeah, I think you're answering the question, and maybe you don't have this. You can't really get into details right now, but I'm just trying to understand. As a shareholder, I own X many brains, and I own X many ASTO that I've held since the beginning. You're paying me a dividend. You've just created a new value use case that needs my participation. You're including me in that equation.
Yes, they can't buy the brains off us because we don't own them. We don't own the protocol, so they have to come from the DAO in the way that the DAO says that they have to come.
Okay, I'm kind of wandering around the question of how much fucking money am I going to make? Just tell me.
I think that borders on financial advice. That one.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah,
that
was in jest. That was in jest.
Yeah, the protocol's built to be so that the participants in the protocol are the ones that A, govern it, and B, get the financial reward from their participation.
Okay, got it. Okay, thanks for the second round.
All good. Thank you.
No problem at all. Yeah, great question too in regards to sort of how the brains get out there, right? I think that is something that people want to sort of understand more. But as David said, it's very, very case by case. How many do you need? How fast do you need them? Who needs them?
Yeah, and maybe just to comment briefly, I think it's really cool during this AMA that we've tapped on a number of the value drivers for ASTO going forward. So, clearly being able to stake ASTO and receive genomes back is one value proposition. We've then also described how you'll be able to pay with ASTO for training, and that ASTO will go to the DAO, which ultimately is controlled by ASTO holders. And then finally, there's going to be all of those ASTO use cases within games as well, which will, again, increase that DAO treasury. So I think that's, probably one of the really special things that we're trying to do with ASM, which is to provide all of that value and all of that utility for ASTO, and to keep on expanding that over time.
Yeah, and to add on to that, that's not even getting into all the utility of it as a governance token within the DAO and the ability to have an ongoing voice in shaping the future of the protocol.
Indeed, indeed. Atari, welcome to the stage.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Thank you. Hey, what's going on, bro? How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Good day.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. Thank you guys again for bringing this together tonight. I don't really have any questions. I mean, I have so many, but I know we're in a place where we're building. There's legal. There's a lot of factors going right now, and I'm bullish on the McDonald brothers, everything you guys have done. You did mention the other day, and I know sometimes we throw so many questions at you that it gets muddled, the info. You said there was going to be, I believe, 3 use cases: the Muhammad Ali, the AFA game, and then you had mentioned thingies. And I wasn't sure if I should bring it up or not, but I said, let me at least throw it out there and see if you can talk about it or not.
So the thingies, specifically the thingies use case, is that what you're asking?
Just the other day, I might have misunderstood you when we were talking. You kind of just said that ASTO was going to have it seemed like ASTO was going to have a use case with the thingies.
Yeah, of course. So ASTO should have a use case with as many projects and integrations that ASM protocol gets involved with as possible, in my opinion. And I believe it should have something to do with the thingies I'm trying to be really careful here because this is fluff alpha, and I get in trouble when I drop fluff alpha.
Okay,
but yeah,
don't get into it. I'm happy to be here. I got to go to work in the morning. You know what I mean? I can't wait to just have my brains with BTC Hornet, and we're just we're in God mode.
awesome.
I really think you guys need to do something with a walled garden collection. I don't know if you guys coined that phrase or what, but I'm down with it. And
So
thanks for having me up here.
all good. Thanks, man.
Maybe for those that don't understand what a walled garden collection is, David, you could explain that. I personally, I don't know what that means. Do you?
I believe that you're referring to actually Atari God. Maybe you explain that one because I'm not 100% what you mean by walled garden. I think you mean like another sort of blue chip project that's outside the ecosystem. Is that right?
I was just using it when I hear the term walled garden, the example, like I needed to transfer money from PNC or from like a standard American bank account. I need to put it into my firefighter credit union. It's not possible. So to me, just like that intermediary, like
Oh,
anything that
right.
gets like, yeah, that's does that make sense? That's my thought was of a walled garden, and that you guys are trying to tear down the walled gardens and make things interoperable and seamless. And it's just, does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yeah, it's absolutely. That's what we're trying to do. So we are working with, there's a lot of Web2 companies out there who are not going to make it in light of what's happening in Web3. But there are some that are really genuinely thinking about how their business can survive in the future, and how they can work in a Web3 way. And we're interested in working with those companies.
Okay, and yes, last thing, I was at South by Southwest, and I know I talked to some of the people doing documentaries. I'm sorry if anything comes out. I'm just authentic in myself, David. You know, I'm. What can I
That's fine.
say? I'm a degenerate genius, but I love you guys. I appreciate it.
All good, bro.
Yeah,
Thanks for
bro.
coming up.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Thanks for going into the explanation of what that meant as well. I felt like if I didn't know it, maybe some other people would need the help. So perfectly done, team. Lalas, welcome to the stage. Is your
Are you
mic
there?
working?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Good.
Yo.
Hey.
So, quick question. You guys talked just now about the DAO and being able to control. I guess I didn't really understand fees that go to the DAO versus I would have thought all of that went to the people that own Altered State Machine. How do you determine which, like, how does Altered State Machine make money, or the people that own that, including you, David, obviously, if the fees go to the DAO, do you guys just own a larger percentage of the DAO? How does that work?
Yeah, thanks for being concerned for our well-being. Appreciate it. So the Altered State Machine, the company, has tokens. So as the value of tokens increases, the treasury of tokens the Altered State Machine company has obviously increases. And we also make money by producing content for the platform. So making games and use cases and things that people are going to interact with. And those games and use cases, we can design into those use cases a cut of fees paid to participate, at which we get a share of that back to the company, Altered State Machine, to make sure we can keep the lights on.
I just think you guys are doing such an amazing job. You should make as much as you can, but I think it's amazing that the DAO gets to participate. And I guess my guess is that because you're equity holders, you have a large percentage of the DAO. So if you again, this is not financial advice, but if you hypothetically one day decided to distribute money, it's only helping everybody, which is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. It's an interesting way to look at things if you're kind of used to big SaaS companies in Web 2 where everything comes back to the SaaS company, and they make their margins on whatever it is, and they control everything. You've got to kind of deconstruct all of that, and rebuild it as a sort of a DAO first thing, and then see whether a company makes context and it makes sense in context of that. And that's kind of what we did. We built out the protocol with the idea, okay, if we build this and we all disappear tomorrow, does this thing still stand on its own? And the answer to that is yes. That once the DAO is out there and it's been actively developed by the community, and the participation and the future of it is done in a community kind of way through the functions of the DAO, then Altered State Machine can exist independently of the company Altered State Machine. And then you sit down and you ask yourself a question: can I build a business around this to enable us to continue being involved in the protocol? And the answer to that was yeah. It's going to be a massive protocol, and it's going to need a lot of use cases and things to do with it. And we're pretty damn good at developing Altered State Machine use cases as a company. So there's definitely a value there.
This is about the smartest thing I've ever heard. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ray. Cheers.
Awesome.
Like to add that real fast, that for anyone listening that might not have realized that there are DAOs and this is part of the model of Altered State Machine, just like to point you towards the white paper where you can read a bit more about the 2 DAO approach, the Harlan DAO and the Elder DAO, and get an idea of the future of the protocol.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, I think really, really good questions to sort of have more of an explanation of how that actually functions. Really, really valuable questions. So thank you, Lalas, for that. Burning Well, welcome back.
Hi guys, another 2 questions. The first, how we can train the brain without token if the game is not live?
So you'll need to. This is more kind of a how do you develop a game, or are you talking about intelligence mining before the game is released? I assume I assume it's the latter. So I can talk within context of how APE has been built. So the training infrastructure, the simulation engine, and the player, or the I need to come up with a good word for that. The part that the front end that plays the actual game, they're actually all decoupled from each other and modular. So we can run and simulate games without a front end to display them and output it as a stream that we can plug into sort of any place that's appropriate to play it, whether it's VR or AR or on your mobile or in a web app, or on Unreal Engine or Unity, wherever we want to place those games. The training infrastructure is also separate from that. So once you set up the bare bones of your environment around how all the rules around how the game's played, then you can set up the training infrastructure and then make the decisions about what it looks like after that. So you don't have to. You can do this kind of stuff in parallel while you're training brains in the training infrastructure. You can polish the presentation of those games for the front end. So because in the back end it's just running command line essentially. There's no sort of visual graphics to that process. So you can kind of parallelize those 2 things.
Wow, interesting. Thank you.
Does that make sense, Burning Whale? That was yeah. So basically, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So the the last question. The next project will using ASTO token like a SMN?
Yeah, so ASTO token can be used as a play to earn token within the games, and we'll set up an example of that with AFA, and the next game will also use that. So any collaboration with Altered State Machine, the company will use ASTO token, but it doesn't mean that you can't include other tokens within your games if there's a need for it. But we're creating a significant center of gravity around play and earn gaming and the ASTO token. So I see it becoming a popular choice for anybody wanting to build out a play and earn economy.
So a really high buying pressure for ASTO token, we hope.
Yeah, that's the point. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks for your questions, Burning Whale. Zepta, welcome to the stage.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
We can.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Well, awesome AMA so far. Thanks for hosting again. So my question is about the Gen 2 brains and regarding the DAO kind of deciding the mint rate. But if I envision what's going to happen with AFA, my guess is that there's going to be a period where people that want to participate in it that don't necessarily have the cash or liquidity to buy Genesis brains are going to want to buy these Gen 2 brains. But my guess is that with the plans to scale the platform, there's going to be much lower brains minted in the early portion compared to if we're wanting to have millions of brains down the line. And so just from, I guess, a value perspective, and you know, maybe you don't know, but from the perspective of the DAO, if there's significantly less brains in the early port compared to, you know, later, how should people think about the Gen 2 brains keeping their value? And is it ever something that you would consider where a Gen 2 brain could have a limited amount of hereditary AI type abilities in the way to sort of promote new players or participants in the ecosystems in the early days, so that if and when there are millions of brains, those Gen 2 brains now don't become devalued? Sort of like, will it always be Gen 2 brains, or is there a possibility for there to be like a Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5? And how do we kind of think about proposing this to the DAO? Sorry if that was a long-winded question.
Good question though, and I think there's value in saying, hey, this is a point in time where this was from, and it has some significance to that. The value for brains is kind of works very differently from PFP projects because they are dynamic living things, and their value is actually accrued through their experience. So when you talk about Gen 2 brains and their value, they're always going to be in context of what they're trained to do and how well they perform in those environments. And that's ultimately what's going to decide the value of the market. And it's on us as Altered State Machine, and also on the community to come up with good ways of representing that value to people wanting to enter the ecosystem. And so we're working on specific tools around how to represent that value within context of a use case or a set of use cases, and in context of how much training that brain has had within those use cases. So the blank brains will always should always be a nice entry point into the ecosystem for anybody wanting to jump in, and we can add some additional sort of flex value on top of that by doing a new generation each significant event, which is something that we can sort of think about. and it'd be good to get the feedback from the community on that. But as long as the entry point is still low enough for mass market adoption, and then the value grows within the utility of the protocol and the utility of the brains, then that's kind of the way that we're wanting to balance that.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you're saying that there is potentially a period where the DAO could vote where we start to introduce Gen 3, Gen 4 type brains and beyond, and there would be an inherent value associated with that earlier generation.
Yeah, I think that's just the name itself has value, is kind of what I'm hearing. That I was, I've got one of the original brains. That's quite cool. I like that. So yes, to answer your question.
All right, well, awesome. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Ray.
Awesome. Thank you, Zapdart. We've got time for one or two more questions. Big Hino, welcome to the stage. We can't hear you just yet. You're coming through, but ever so slightly choppy. No, it doesn't look like anything's coming through. If you want to type your question out in the Ask Us, I will ask it for you, because it seems like your mic doesn't want to play Friends right now.
Is that a bit better there?
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
I've got to hold down the push talk. Yeah, quick question. With the brains Gen 1 and Gen 2, will there be a way to see how many hours or cycles or maybe tiers and levels of training the brain has had, so that you could organise an AFA tournament based on sort of leagues and categories? Especially it would be quite fun to watch some like Toon Brain, Fresh Brain AFA, where they're just falling about, as well as sort of like the Arsenal Chelsea sort of grand tournament for 250 million cycle plus brains.
Mm-hmm. That is so yes, to answer your first question, yes, we'll be exposing those kinds of stats. Your second question, that is really cool. I hadn't thought of that as a mechanic for people hosting leagues and tournaments, and I think we should add that into our plans.
Yeah.
TM Big Hino. That's a really cool idea.
I can send you some information around that, David.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, wicked. I love it. That'd be so fun. Like, let's have a juniors only tournament and just see what happens. I like it. That's awesome.
I love that.
It's like the kids league,
Yeah.
Perfect.
Wicked.
Crypto Blitz, welcome to the stage.
Hi, how's it going, guys?
Yo, good. How are you?
Okay. So I had a couple questions today as I was just I was writing down some questions, and I was wondering if down the line, let's just say like Fluff World or AFA, or there's other games like you guys said that are coming that will require ASM, Ultra State Machine. Is there any way to I was thinking purchase something like styles, fighting styles or dancing styles, and have those all saved under Gen 2 brains, and so you could kind of like buy skills or buy brains with skills in order to play like future games. Let's just say that you want to go into a PvP or something, and you want to get like the Street Fighters fighting styles or something like that.
Oh,
Would that be something that could get implemented in the future?
I thought I was the only one thinking of this. I was like, oh, it's a brilliant idea, David. But apparently I'm not the only one who's thought of this. But yeah, to answer your question, yes. I think sort of collaborating with an open source mocap provider to enable you to put in these sorts of things, and also the actually I don't know if that's been released yet, so I probably shouldn't talk about it. But dancing's involved, and you all know dancing's involved in Fluff World stuff. and that sort of stuff. So yeah, as an ecosystem, we've been thinking about it, but also specifically what you just mentioned. Yeah, I've been sort of working on a plan for that, and incorporating something like open source mocap into how we execute on that would be really cool. It's a really good idea.
Thank you for answering that.
Okay.
That's my question. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll take our last question here from the community. Black Farmer, welcome to the stage.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So the first thing I was wondering is, in regards to the Gen 2 brains, is it known how many ASTO will be required to acquire one at this time?
Not yet, no. So those calculations are dependent on a number of factors that are currently in flux. So we can't definitively say yet, but we've got the basic, mathematical models in place that will determine that.
Okay. And the second question I had, I'm not sure you guys are aware of a project called Singularitynet, which is basically an open marketplace for AI that basically anybody can list their form of AI on the marketplace. Other people can use the AGI token to purchase that AI and embed it in their own project however they see fit. Given that they already have a lot of different types of narrow AI on their platform, would it be possible to somehow take some of those pieces of narrow AI and embed it into the brain?
Yeah, so I'm very aware of that project, and a really cool bunch of dudes to talk to about AI. And they've got that relationship with the Sophia project as well, which has been pushing forward the AI space for a long time, AI and robotics specifically, which is really, really cool, in my opinion. And they're a cool bunch of guys that are really cool to talk to.
No big opportunity to
There's
integrate
definitely opportunity there. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've had some conversations, a couple of conversations with their team so far, and there's definitely opportunity there.
Excellent. Great to hear. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Awesome. Great question there, Black Farmer. And I believe that is the end of our questions. Does anybody have anything they would like to go over while we're still on stage? Anything from David, John, or degentradergirl, or are we good to go?
Have I forgotten something? Am I going to get yelled at from Carmen for forgetting something?
I haven't been told about anything you may have forgotten, so okay, I can't help you there. Right. So probably not, I guess.
She doesn't actually yell at me, but but yeah.
No, she's an actual angel.
Yes, yeah. She's extremely lovely and tolerant. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you everybody for joining. As per usual, we'll be all around on the Discord. And if you've got any further questions, let us know. Looking forward to Max's AMA. Is that technically that'll be tomorrow, won't it? At this point, and seeing and jumping on there if I can. But other than that, have a great evening, morning, or day.
Awesome.
I'll just slip a quick reminder in that there's just a shade under 21 hours now left to deposit USDC in the ASTO Discovery Auction should you wish to. And just in case anyone hasn't caught it, there was a big change that the LP tokens that you get from the ASTO Discovery Auction can participate in genome mining with a multiplier. Details TBA.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Aaron. John, any sign-off thoughts from you, bud?
No, I think this has been really good conversation. I like all the questions about kind of where the protocol, where the platform is going. So looking forward to keeping on developing.
Awesome. We're at 21 cents, by the way, right now on the ASTO token.
It did jump a significant
Did a
amount
little-
while we've been talking for the last hour, funnily enough.
A little bit of a jump there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always fun to see. It's fun to watch, you know. It's a beautiful website to look at, and it's greatly designed. So shout out to another shout out to Bear for that UX. It's gorgeous. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming up on stage with your questions. And it's been a really great educational AMA. And as John said, a lot of information coming about the utility of ASTO and where it can be used, and lots more to come out in the future. So thank you all for tuning in. Have a wonderful night, evening, day, morning, and we'll see you again for the next AMA.
Hey guys.
Bye, everyone.